It is core set Teferi time with 9 different art versions of the man himself. What? Either way, there is a ton to be excited for in this set. There's this kind of adorable cat versus dog thing going on. Wizards put a ton of great and valuable reprints in the set, and it looks like a pretty strong limited environment, which we are here to help you with so you can take down your pre-release event, assuming, hoping, praying that we can attend one. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know down in the comments. And if you would be so kind, hit that like button and share the video with no one, because the point is to help you and me to get us ready for this. If everyone sees it, kind of defeats the purpose, yeah? I mean, I guess if you really want to share it, you can, but only if you really want to. This is the Core Set 2021 pre-release guide. Let's get into it. With M21, we have no new mechanics, but we do have a new keyword. Mill is now an official keyword in the world of Magic, and I'm more excited about this than I probably should be. Also not new, but a mechanic that hasn't been around for some 20 years, Teferi brought back, and that is phasing. How it works is when Teferi phases out our opponent's creature, it's just gone. And that includes enchantments and counters it had on it. It simply doesn't exist. That creature then phases back in before their controller's untap step and brings with it any enchantments and counters it had when it was phased out. Does not count as leaving or entering the battlefield while phasing, so summoning sickness won't impact it, and it does not trigger any enter the battlefield effects. It's just back. Another far less complicated mechanic returning is prowess, which means if we cast those non-creature spells, some creatures may be very excited about that, getting +1/+1 till end of turn. Some new stuff we do have to look forward to is our new Planeswalker, Boss Riket, from Amonkhet. He has his followers and fighters, and they all really like sharing 1/1 counters. In fact, there's a Planeswalker for each color, with some notable favorites getting a new card, and Ugin getting a much appreciated reprint. The enemy Scry lands are back. Those tapped temples from Core Set 2020 are also getting a reprint here, which is whatever, but so is Fabled Passage, which is much more exciting to see. Now onto the archetypes, with Signpost gold cards to lead the way. First up is white-blue, and it is Take the Skies, with blue also having a loose spirit tribal theme going on in the set. Watcher of the Spheres makes our flyers cheaper and gets a temporary boost when flying comrades show up. Baneslayer Angel is game-crushing good with one of the best-looking borderless cards ever. Then Shacklegeist helps us use multiple spirits to lock down big problem creatures. Tide Skimmer helps with the ever-useful card draw. Falconer Adept keeps the birds coming, and Vring Wingmare slows down all non-creature spell plans, including our own, so do keep that in mind. Blue-white doesn't have as much interaction as I was hoping, but I'm kind of excited about Angelic Ascension as a white spell that can deal with a Planeswalker or that crazy bomb creature our opponent played and turn it into something slightly less terrifying, or help our early game creatures achieve their true potential and turn them into our late game finisher. What I like about blue-white is the color pair is happy to win by poking our opponent every turn, or stalling with a creature like Celestial Enforcer until we have our heavy hitters online. Just make sure you have ways to keep getting in for damage and ensure you win the race. And also, not super relevant to the archetype, but as someone who loves the lore of the game, Teferi's daughter Niambi is back in a flash, as well as his teacher from the Tolarian Academy, Baron, each making an appearance. Both will probably serve you better in another format like Commander, but very cool to see them in the set. Moving on, white-black is Lifelink for life. Vampires are vamping it up and here to drain our opponent of any chance they think they have of winning. In the set, white and black also have a fair bit of removal options like Grasp of Darkness, Eliminate, and Faith's Fetters. We have good early game plays to start gaining life, and that life gain can help us create more creatures with Griffin Airy and Speaker of the Heavens, or give us card draw with Silver Smoke Ghoul. It is important to note that the payoffs in this archetype need us to gain 3 or more life to get the most value from them. So combat tricks, putting 1/1 counters on our creatures with lifelink, or just playing Revitalize will be even more valuable in this color pair. This archetype brings in some higher risk, higher reward type plays with Light of Promise potentially making that creature crazy big, and Tavern Swindler letting us gamble with our life. Other good cards for us are Aven Gagglemaster and Blood Glutton, those are some card names for you, and Gloom Sower. Finally, Vito shows us just gaining life can win us the game, and he gives us a way to do that once we've built out our board. Pretty nice. Now white-red is dog Pack Aggro. Alpine Houndmaster brings 2 pets with him, Alpine Watchdog and Igneous Cur, to bark and burn our way to victory. What makes or breaks Boros Aggro is often our ability to get on the board and keep applying pressure. Usually that means going wide with low CMC creatures, and you can't do much better than Pack Leader, which allows all of our dogs to charge in fearlessly, or build out our board with Goblin Wizardry and Valorous Steed to generate some tokens. Then pump our creatures up with combat tricks like Burn Bright, Unleash Fury, and Sure Strike. And it should be noted, in this set, there's a lot of low-cost, high-toughness creatures, so cards like Bolt Hound, Glorious Anthem, and Warded Battlements make sure our stuff is just that much stronger. Or we can just have the scariest thing on the battlefield with Terror of the Peaks, who is looking to burn up everything in its path whenever we have a creature enter the battlefield. Play a lot of creatures, push down on that gas pedal, and never let up. That is the Boros way. White-green is Homeward Bound 1/1 counters. Homeward Bound because we have both tribal leaders for our cat and dog creatures. And 1/1 counters because, well, that's what Conclave Mentor is all about. This color combo is also where our new Planeswalker Bossry feels most at home too, so he clearly must be a pet person. Wildwood Scourge is happy to see counters flying around. Quiron Dryad is an early play that will keep growing, and Tempered Veteran helps our stuff keep growing too. Invigorating Surge can save a creature or grow it to be completely out of hand. Pride Malkin gives all of our creatures with 1/1 counters trample, and Siege Striker is going to be doubly stoked about any counters you put on him. A drawback is some of our removal spells may come with some condition, like it needing the creature to be tapped, it having 4 power or greater, or it being flying. However, something that's working in Green-White's favor in this set is that there isn't as much removal as we've seen, so you can get your creatures big enough to where they get out of range of most removal in the set. If our opponent does find removal though, it doesn't matter, Colossal Dreadmaw will still show up and save the day. Next is Blue-Black, which Obsessive Stitcher, much to my surprise, shows us this is the color pairing for Graveyard Recursion in M21. She's willing to even sacrifice herself to bring back whatever we found in the graveyard. Hopefully it's stuff like Massacre Worm or Pursued Whale, or we can use Waker of Waves' discarding ability to then bring it back later and really give our opponent some problems. Archfiend's Vessel comes back from the graveyard as a 5/5 flying demon, which I don't mind at all as long as it's our demon, of course. Then Carrion Grub is happy to see bigger stuff in our graveyard as it can borrow its power. There's also this enchantment, Demonic Embrace, which is an absolute bomb for limited, making any creature we enchant with it a huge problem to deal with. Blue-Black has a good amount of interaction for this set, and we should be okay there. And just a quick word of caution, I would suggest you utilize those graveyard value plays sooner than later, because if we run into a Tormod's Crypt or a Scavenging Ooze, that can really mess up our plans to bring back stuff from the graveyard, and that's especially true in a best-of-3 match where our opponent can sideboard those answers in too. Moving on, Blue-Red is Spells Matter. Experimental Overload is one of the best gold uncommons in the set, getting us a token creature in play and a spell back to our hand. This color pairing also loves Prowess, which means any instant speed spell can double as a pseudo combat trick or help our creatures get in for some surprise damage. Some great plays for us are commons like Scorching Dragonfire, Frantic Inventory, and Rookie Mistake. Shipwreck Dowser is another great card to return a spell back to our hand. Kinetic Augur wants more spells in the graveyard to keep the fists pumping going, and Volcanic Geyser never gets old, just soaking up our mana to deal damage to any target. The risk I often run into with Blue-Red is the temptation to run a lot of non-creature spells, which then leads to me falling behind on board due to a lack of bodies. I also like to run a bit lower of a curve so that I can play a creature and an instant like Aftershock in the same turn. Now onto Blue-Green, which is card draw domination. Lore Scale Codal will become a problem if played early enough. One of our biggest payoffs is Jor-El, who loves to create cat tokens, and we can lock down our opponent's creature or untap our own with Tolarian Kraken. Burl Fist Oak is ready to do a ton of damage if left unchecked. Tome Anima simply can't be blocked if we've drawn 2 cards, and Gnarled Sage gets tougher. What can keep us drawing cards are Teferi's Protege, Tutelage, and Ageless Insight. So if there's one thing we can take away from this set, it's that Teferi's really good at learning how to and teaching others how to draw cards. But then for the late game, we have Elder Gargaroth and Warden of the Woods to help make sure we got card draw coming. Also, Mazemind Tome should probably be played if you open it in any archetype because drawing cards is good and limited, but in this archetype we can make the best use of it. That's why I like Blue-Green so much in this set, because drawing cards is just really strong and limited. Getting additional value or payoffs from it is icing on the cake. Now Black-Red is back with the classic Aggro Self-Sacrifice. We can sacrifice a creature to make Direfleet Warmonger bigger. Village Rites lets us draw some cards, and if we gotta lose an equipped creature, at least it makes our spooky looking scythe better and better for the next one. And one of the best and most essential uncommons for this archetype is Liliana's Devotee. He replaces the bodies we lost to our completely necessary sacrifices with zombie tokens. Then there's Gadrick, who is the equivalent of the player in your D&D campaign that rushes to loot the bodies for treasure, and Liliana's Standard Bearer also helps us draw some cards so we can keep the show going if we do lose a lot of creatures during our turn. Havoc Jester pings whatever we want when we sacrifice something, and cards like Liliana's Steward and Heartfire Immolator are happy to sacrifice themselves to further the cause. Black-red also has good removal options to help deal the finishing blow, but remember, the fun comes mostly from creatures going up in flames, both ours and our opponents. We can win the war of attrition or just smash in with Gormand or Flying Trampler Demon. Whatever you plan to do here, just know there's going to be some fireworks. Black-green is death benefits. As Twin Blade Assassins shows us, we want stuff to die for our betterment. Our gold card draws us a card, Liliana's Devotee will create zombie tokens, and Sabertooth Mauler will get bigger and bigger. But we also have creatures like Fetid Imp, Thieves Guild Enforcer, and Hooded Blightfang, which have Death Touch to make sure something ends up in the graveyard. Alchemist's Gift can give a creature Death Touch or make a trading situation into a winning situation for us. Crypt Lurker lets us sacrifice a less useful creature to draw another card. And Track Down should probably be played in every green deck. Just make sure when you scry 3, you put a creature or land on top so you can draw it. Then Ranger's Guile can make sure our stuff only dies when we want it to. We will win by getting more value out of trades and that bonus value from creatures dying because of our high synergy cards. Even if our opponent removes them, if we can just draw a couple extra cards or create a couple extra zombie tokens, that can make the difference. And the last of our 2-color pairings is red-green, which stays on theme with prior sets and that 4+ power matters. Leafkin Avenger is the angry version of Leafkin Druid from last year's core set, and it's here to help keep adding mana based on how many 4+ power creatures we have. It can also use that mana to then deal damage to players and Planeswalkers. If you have 4+ power on the battlefield, other creatures will appreciate it, like Drowsing Tyrannodon, Ornery Dilophosaur, and Turret Ogre. Fierce Empath helps us find those expensive creatures waiting for us in our library. Furious Rise gets us access to additional cards to play, and Crash Through makes sure we get past chump blockers and in for damage. Be big, be dangerous, and of course knock down everything trying to fly over while we trample in for the win. Oh, and we have a bonus archetype in this set, which may not be all that realistic for sealed, but could be the most 5-color fun you'll ever have if you're just that lucky. Shrines are back in this set, with some being more playable than others. The worst for sealed is probably green, which just adds mana for our pre-combat main phase. A slightly better option is the white shrine, which helps us tap down problem creatures if we invest a lot of mana. Then the blue shrine helps us draw a card and then discard a card. But my 2 favorite are the red one, which turns extra land into damage for a creature or planeswalker, and the black one, which is essentially like Ill-Gotten Inheritance with potentially more upside. The coolest part is if you get more shrines into play, they all get better and better. And then Sanctum of All is where the 5-color fun comes in because it will eventually get all of our shrines into play. So yeah, will it work in sealed? Doubtful. But if you happen to open all 6 of these cards, you are obligated to build a deck. Godspeed slinging these spells. Moving on, artifacts worth mentioning are Solemn Simulacrum, which is a commander staple, but also good for mana fixing and sacrificing. Meteorite has some fantastic flavor text, so that instantly makes it playable. Spark Hunter Masticore is good enough for any deck and will chew up any planeswalker you need it to. Chrome Replicator can be amazing if you have enough duplicates in your deck to get that bonus 4/4 token. If so, you gotta play it. Skyscanner fits better into those 1/1 counter, card draw, or flying matter decks, but a generic 3 mana creature that's a 1/1 flyer and draws us a card is not too shabby in any build. Tormod's Crypt is a good sideboard card against anyone looking to get value from their graveyard. And Chromatic Orrery, though not really a great play in Limited, is something your collection will thank you for because it's currently one of the pricier new cards in the set. Speaking of pricey cards, let's point out some of the more valuable reprints to keep in mind and keep an eye out for. Ugin, a very powerful and always useful colorless planeswalker, which we can ramp into with Palladium Myr, is something I'm ready to lose to early and often, and he's about $30. Grim Tutor from the starter set in 1999 was over $200 before this reprint was announced, and the new version is around $30. Azusa Lost But Seeking is about $14, Massacre Worm is about $12, and Heroic Intervention's latest version is now less than $10. Point is, there is a rather impressive amount of value for this being a core set, and I will definitely be picking some up. If you are, support that LGS first and foremost, but if you buy online, check out Card Kingdom. They have genuinely fantastic customer service, fast shipping, and all the sealed and singles you're looking for. Now for some sage advice before you jump in and start tearing open that pre-release kit and getting ready to build your deck. First thing I always try to remind people of is use your removal as effectively as possible. I'm always thinking my opponent is going to open better and bigger cards than I am, and I try not to use my removal on something that's just merely an inconvenience. You know what I mean? Focus on those problems that you're really going to have a hard time dealing with and try and make sure you're using your removal as efficiently as possible. Also, the mana fixing in this set is pretty decent, but if we look at the big scary creatures like Elder Gargaroth here, a lot of them have multiple colored mana in their mana cost, so splashing stuff isn't quite as easy in this set, or at least splashing those big scary bombs. isn't quite as easy. But if your opponent is playing 3 colors, you better believe something big and scary is coming. Or they just slap down Ugin and laugh at your mana color problems. Ugin, can we just be friends? Great. And lastly, just have fun. I mean, this is hopefully where we can finally get back to some amount of normalcy with pre-releases, play with friends and those folks that we enjoy hanging out with at our LGS, and just get to enjoy a new set and play with some new cards, have a good time, and play with the goodest boys and cats around. I guess here's a question for you. Are you team cat or team dog? Let me know down in the comments. I'll kind of give you my take down there. We'll see who's going to win this heated battle. Or you know what? You could tell me your best pet story. Tell us about the best memory you have with your favorite companion. That might have been a poor word choice. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this pre-release guide. If you have any questions, of course, let me know down in the comments. And last but not least, most definitely not least, thank you to my patrons who support this channel, make this content possible. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Best of luck at your pre-release, and I hope that you get to play with this awesome set. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Peace.